Good morning. And since morning, there has been a lot of discussions about AI. My previous speaker, a wonderful initiative by Government of India, pretty much a lot of academic institutes contributing to that. I decided to talk about something which is not AI. There's a little bit of a dramatic pause in there, just to provoke you. And I wanted to say and think about what is the opposite of AI, right? And literally speaking, it is IA. And IA primarily means the individual ambidexterity, right? And what happens when over the time, right, from millions of years as humans have evolved, we have looked at things and then we have devised codified mechanisms of how to deal with those things. And on the way, we have got many, many technologies and innovations to support us and to guide us to take it through. And hence, this particular picture that you see over here has got a little bit of a brain shape, but there are a lot of other aspects over there, right? This is actually the IA part of it, right? Which is, we evolved from monkeys, yeah? And I still feel in our day-to-day interactions, decision-making, conversations, we do a lot of monkey business, right? And all of you will agree to that. So there's a monkey thinking, and the brain has evolved from there with a lot of inputs and a lot of evolutions and learning aspects. On the right side is the AI, right? And this is how IA meets AI, and that's the topic that I'm going to cover today. Moving on, but there is a problem there, right? We have been, the innovation and the pace of technology coming out, aspects of what we can do, what we cannot do. I think there were a few questions in the previous sessions about guardrails. How do we manage all these hallucinations and all that stuff? But the biggest problem statement is, how would we make decision making? So far, a lot of innovations and GenAI solutions, implementations, architectures, you name it, is all about how do we solve narrow, specific problem statements. But decision making happens here, and decision making is a problem statement that at a strategic level we need to quickly evolve into, and that is how the AGI concept will come to life, right? And some of the stats are staggering in that sense, especially the MIT stat about 90% of GenAI pilots fail in production, right? The question could be, why so? Yeah. This is where, interestingly, there are three critical aspects that is coming on the way, right? As hurdles, as challenges for us to solve and look around things. Managing paradoxes on day-to-day life, that whether this option versus that option, anything that has got a value-based aspect of it, which is more than one option, because we are very good at dealing with one option, right? But if it is more than one, then we start debating around, we take a longer time to arrive at things, and either options you choose has got implications, right? The second aspect of it is bounded rationality, and this is very, very critical because while coming here, somebody was telling me that, look, there is so much of information overload about AI, the technology, the pace of innovation. Whatever we are working on today as the cutting edge, we really don't know what is going to happen next week or the following day or following month. So we are always doing a catch-up game. This bounded rationality is also a part of that. That means, and there is a term you can look up to, which is called satisficing. Humans make decisions based on available information and choices, not to find an optimal solution, but rather what is satisfactory and sufficient enough, right? And if you all really, deep down, if you think about it, that's what we do. But we have an expectation from AI that it will always point out the right thing all the time. Yeah? So there's a bit of a confrontation between what we do and then what we expect, and the adoptions and then all these problems pointing to the MIT article I talked about. The last one is human cognition. Daniel Kahneman, if you recall, wrote something about systems thinking. There is a system 1 and system 2, meaning, based on the way we have evolved, we have codified a whole lot of things. Our brain, our memory, muscles, everything is oriented towards that, and we are very good at fast thinking because it is survival instinct, right? Your manager, in the morning you walk into office and you're thinking something, manager says, look, you didn't arrive on time, and we have got a good enough explanation that, oh, this is Bangalore traffic, yeah? I was right here, just the turn, but can't help it. That's the very, very fast response, fast thinking, first way of dealing with it. But most of the strategic decisions we do is deliberate. We take a longer time, we debate, we look at multiple dashboards, multiple KPIs, try to find ways of why this will not work, rather trying to get on the way saying this is going to work. That is how we are. That is the deliberate, slow thinking. So we keep juggling around these two. Now, why I'm saying these things, right? There are, if you put it in a quadrant, right, we all know, our decision making and the latest imaginative and innovative thing that we are all talking about is agentic workflows. And the first thing comes into mind is, okay, what kind of problem statements should fit into what kind of workflows? Is it going to be human in the loop all the time? Is it going to be semi-autonomous, meaning human above the loop, right, which is observing what's going on and nudging it in the right direction? Or it is going to be completely autonomous, and then human is actually defining the rules and policies and guidelines and standing outside, right? But there is no such perspective around, is there a method to the madness? As we all working in different problem statement areas and priorities and investments that are happening around this, the ROI question keeps coming back all the time. Is there a method to the madness? And I hope that these 4 quadrants will give you that perspective, right? One is, just to simplify this, you have a generalist and you have a specialist. And the generalist goes from routine to non-routine. There are different type of tasks and activities that you can bucket there. And on the specialist, you will have a similar aspect of it, which is what is the routine and non-routine. And then there are a few examples just to help you around and get something going around. So from the 3 constraints, that what human can do and how AI can augment and help, to a little bit of a method to the madness, a framework perspective. But let's not stop there. What I saw, talking to clients, and I'm myself a research PhD scholar right now, at the age of 53, right, and a little bit of a ponytail and gray hairs. Good for me, good for everybody. What I found out from my research is that there are patterns, and we technologists, business leaders and strategic leaders, everybody always think about the patterns and try to find a way of solving the problems, right? That is very natural to us. But till now, we have tried to solve things looking into the patterns. Text to SQL, automatic visualizations, summarizations, you can name it, right? These are kind of patterns. And then I started probing into it that if we are designing systems, Gen AI and agentic solutions, to actually fit in nicely into these various patterns that happen, then why the pilots don't see the daylight in production? What's the problem statement there? There is something missing there, right? And what you see is basically we forgot about the anti-patterns. right? And I'm going back to the software engineering days, and many of you have already come through those aspects. In software engineering, we also think about anti-patterns, right? But in case of GenAI and agentic AI, especially LLMs at the core of things, and then we actually don't understand how it does. We know it's a prediction machine predicting next token, and it somehow magically finds out linguistically what is the right recommendation or right response to provide to all of us. All of that is great, but they're all designed for the patterns. And hence, an attempt to actually lay out that we must think about anti-patterns as well. Many of these anti-patterns, if you actually look up, make sense. And what is the missing piece in there in that context? Just like age-old time, we started doing OS, operating systems, as the thing, right? Linux and Windows and everything else. That was the orchestration engine that was taking care of scale, performance, orchestration, communications, and in a stacked layer, as you see here, it was addressing all of that. And hence, in my view, we should also start thinking about agentic OS, where governance is not an afterthought, but rather it is inbuilt. Thresholds and calibrations of what it can do, what it cannot do, and where I should intervene to tweak it around. Aspects of guardrails is inbuilt into it, right? And those are the aspects that I think is going to be extremely important when we start looking into how do we take many of these GenAI and agentic AI workflows to pilots, from pilots to production, and actually do the ROI justification around it. So I sincerely hope that this is something new, something good that I can share with all of you. Moving on from here, interestingly, there is also another aspect of it, right? Just like, and deep down, I'm a consultant and architect at heart. And I was also looking for, is there a framework that can be made possible to look into all these aspects that I talked about, right? And going back to the beginning where I said there is AI, everybody talks about AI, but IA, which is you and me, individual ambidexterity, how do we bring this thing together to amplify that we can do? And hence, it requires a framework, right? And somehow, acronym-wise, it landed up nicely as AMBIDEX. Yeah? Yes, you're allowed to take pictures, and then this is a good thing. We have to assess, that is how A stands for, map, workflows, and the archetypes that I talked about in one of the previous slides. We have to mitigate, which is basically looking into the anti-patterns that I talked about. Then we have to build skills. Today, anybody who can spell agentic and gen out of GenAI, the demand outside and what's going on in the world, right? So fantastic stuff. Yeah? I'm happy for all of you. Integration mechanisms is very, very important because at the end of the day, these systems cannot stand outside. They have to become an integral part of the ecosystem in which we operate. Yeah? And obviously, design for ambiguity. We can, and we were building a system which is a multi-turn, meaning you could start with one way of analyzing things and then working on it, and you can take detours in between, because that's how humans analyze things, right? We are never cutthroat and then straight to the point, yeah? So in those cases, when it is very open-ended, you really cannot constrain the things to work in the way we want to. That's why design for ambiguity. Today, our design for ambiguity is always an afterthought, right? Once it hits the UAT, or there are few users who start looking into it, we start questioning, oh, I never thought about it. This is ambiguous, right? And hence it is out of the scope. Client or whoever you're working with, please give me more money. I need 5 more people I need to hire, pay more to them, and then build something in the next 20, 30 days or 40 days, right? And finally, the other two pointers around it. So this is probably a framework, AMBIDEX, and good acronym that can help us to navigate this world, which is full of uncertainties now. And this is where I'm introducing Milky Way. We have a booth outside, booth number 15, if I'm not wrong, yeah? And you will see that how we have designed a multi-turn, a very open-ended way of interacting with the agents and making it an agentic workflow-oriented system, which can mimic actually a data analyst or a day in life of a analysis-oriented path, because that is the most difficult thing to really program for and design a solution for that. So this is, we call it Milky Way, because there are multiple agents need to come together, they have to interact, and they have to really work within the patterns and anti-patterns and the Agentic OS framework that I talked about. So once you step out, you will find our booth and Tredence. You can go and see and interact with them, and I'll be available outside as well to take any further questions and all. I wanted to keep it very short, sweet, and crisp, right? And just to get back the time to all of you. There are a couple of, I think we have 4 minutes left, a couple of questions, if possible, that I can take.
As usual, please.
But I must thank all of you. You were taking pictures, glued into it, and then, good. That gives me a good feeling that I was talking sense.
There's a gentleman with his hand up all the way at the back. Can we have a microphone go all the way at the back? Anyone else on this side? We'll have the lady all the way at the back as well, there. Can you just stand up, madam, so they can get the mic to you? The gentleman with the mic, please go ahead.
Do you think that your framework gives you some components of artificial general intelligence?
I barely can hear you.
Does your framework give you some of the components of artificial general intelligence?
Yeah, look, good question. And like I said, right, what we just discussed here, maybe tomorrow morning there is some other solution magically has appeared, right? Agentic OS is some term that I'm talking about it at this forum today. Tomorrow something else will come up, and then it will solve many things that we talked about. But this particular framework, in a sense, gives you that right guidelines and principles that as architects, as solution developers, as business owners in many cases, and as leaders, we need to keep in mind. A larger part of those individual components can actually become software-oriented, can become codified in a sense, and in some other cases it will stay outside as a governance framework or design principles and thoughts around it. So it's a combination of code, design thinking, and certain amount of a framework and guidelines that one needs to keep in mind.
Thank you.
Yes, please go ahead.
It was a nice session, sir. My question is, when you have so many agents, like when you are basically defining the persona of all of these agents, I mean, any which ways you are defining the persona, so why we need so many agents? Because it increases the basically how you validate, and then there is a layer of governance comes in and so on. So why we need that many agents?
So again, look, there's a fine balance that needs to happen, right? If we just zoom in into one persona, and as you step out, you will see many of our solutions being showcased. One of them is people who are working in retail industry and marketing side of it. There is a campaign manager. That's a persona, right? And this campaign manager has got multiple tasks on hand that, what is this campaign all about? And if I launch this, do I have the right inventory to support it? Because you launched a very wonderful campaign, people go to the store and then it's out of stock or things didn't arrive, right? So there is an inventory planning around it. There is a pricing planning around it and like that. So you need that many agents, and these are specialized agents which will connect to the right data sources with the right kind of rules embedded within it to do the task. That is one part of the story, and this is just one example. There could be many such examples where you may have to deal with functional, smaller number of agents which are versatile enough to deliver the tasks that you want to. But then there is this other part of the world, which is you and me and then everybody in this room. How do you mimic how I think, and how do I approach the problem and solving those problem statements around? This is unbounded. This is very open-ended, right? Why my sales are down? This is a very open-ended question, but this is a valid business question. And how do I break it down? And I will need what is the intent classification agent. From there, I will need what exactly you're looking for. Is it product? Is it region? Is it a particular geography? Is it a particular time frame? How do I craft it together? Because that is how humans break it down. So you need a reasoning agent over there, which is breaking it down. Then what are the tasks that I need to do? How do I do a data exploration around it? How do I do a hypothesis generation around it? How do I go about solving this hypothesis? And what kind of tests I need to do for the hypothesis? Finally, how do I produce a report that actually tells me what is going right, wrong, ugly? So in some of these kind of extreme scenarios, which is very open-ended, unbounded, trying to mimic how a human goes about solving the problem will need probably many, many more agents. And this is where the complexity arises, that how do they interact with each other, how do they pass the baton to each other, and finally arrive at the solution that you want or the output that we want. Yeah? And that's why I keep saying we need to have that fine balance between these two.